Yep, here we go. Okay. So, because the world was created with a certain divine purpose in mind, all action serves that purpose. All action is like a part within the grander picture of this whole purpose. And because of this interplay between whole purpose and partial action, each moment of action in this world of creation serving that purpose, all action is, in a way, rationally determined. Because remember, rationality has to do with ratio. We're dealing with mereology. The study of parts and wholes. This end of all creation is hard to determine from within our own little part of creation. You can't see the whole. And the whole, being given by God, has a sense of the infinite to it and a sense of perfection to it, which we just can't access given our limited perspective. However, we can come to take a little glimpse of it, and when we understand the order that our minds take in order to understand this world, the order our minds take in order to get what we want out of this world, we can infer, conclude some assumption about the general shape of purposeness, of rationality, of objectivity. So we want to have objectivity. Yes, I swear I can spell. We want to make sure that our mind's eye is clear so that we can serve this purpose most effectively. This purpose is, according to Aquinas, the reason for all creation is a divine essence, a divine core or nature of all things. It's a common good. And that common good has the strength, the capacity to support diversity. God's all about diversity. He wants us to be fruitful and multiply, not just in a physical way, but he wants his creation to manifest itself in a manifold of ways. He's all about allowing the infinite realm of possibilities to speak through his creation. And so the purpose of all creation is a common good, which supports diversity, it supports life and all of its many colors and shapes and instances and modes of givenness. And in order to keep track of all of that so that we can flourish and make the most of our own potential, we want to have objective, clear sight. So whenever we come to know this common good, whenever we come to know the rational determination of this spontaneous world, whenever we come to know how it is the mind and consciousness operates for all people, no matter their uniqueness and no matter how it is their mind operates on a particular level, there's something common to us all. And whenever we can base our evaluations of the world and ourselves and our actions and our motivations upon this end, then we can represent this end in our measurements, in our evaluations, in coming to motivate ourselves. And so we can have clear sight about what it is we're doing, why it is we're doing it, how it is we're going to flourish based upon our motivations and our actions and our sight. So objectivity is very important in cultivating ourselves and taking the raw potential of our minds and the raw potential of this world and making the most out of it. That's what God wants us to do. And if we don't do it for ourselves, we'll end up a cautionary tale for everybody else, and in that way still serve this purpose. So anyways, that's kind of vague. I'll get into that a little bit more later. Onward we press for now. Okay. So, all of creation serves this end. This end is a purpose, and purpose is not something that we can measure with a ruler or put under a microscope and see or point to out in the cosmos. We need the faculties of reason with which we are endowed by our Creator in order to ascertain that purpose. And with that purpose, we can have objective sight. We can measure things objectively, rationally. We can flourish. So just as all of matter is rationally determined by this end, so too is the mind and its matter. What's the matter with you? Your mind is what's the matter. It too partakes of substance. However, again, its essence is determined by a divine plan, not so much determined by the physical world around us. The spirit goes beyond the physical world, and yet it's all tangled up in it. So our minds, while there is a material element to it, it's not defined by that materiality. It's not constricted by it. It's determined by a spiritual connection with the divine essence that is the purpose of all creation. So anyways, the mind too is rationally ordered. And it has reflective powers. As human beings, we have a special ability to think and reflect upon our own condition, our own state of affairs, the state of the world, and through that reflection, ascertain purpose, which isn't so readily available to our more mundane physical senses of sight and touch and taste and smell, whatever. So our minds are rational, so they are directed. The directedness, or overall directedness in the world, is called telos. The telos of all creation is determined by the direction which it takes, and no matter which direction life takes, it's always serving this end of creation, according to Aquinas at least. So telos is determined by the end or purpose of action, and our mind is determined by a telos as well, and its particular telos, the shape that it takes, is called intentionality. Let's see. So the mind is intentional, and the mind is bifurcated. All of our faculties of the mind, the understanding, the imagination, our reasoning skills, they can be divided into two categories, serving two purposes. The first is speculative reason. The second is practical reason. So the mind is rational, as is everything else. Its particular shape of rationality, Aquinas is going to call intentionality. The mind is bifurcated in terms of that towards which it directs itself. The speculative part of reason craves, desires to know the truth in fullness, that divine essence. It craves to know generalities. It wants to know logic, order, those things that we've been practicing in the logic quizzes, essences, the core nature of things, the core nature of all things being the divine essence, the common good. Speculative reason wants to know that. And in order to ascertain that truth, it sets as its goal the divine essence. And upon those sacred grounds, all is revealed in good time to speculative reason. Practical reason models itself after the pattern of speculative reason. In fact, speculative reason is like the king of our minds, and practical reason is under its tutelage. It is upon the grounds of speculative reason that it operates, but practical reason is where our personal autonomy plays a role in determining what we pay attention to and how it is the mind moves the body from afar, I guess. So practical reason is interested in particular ends or aims or goals. As rational beings, we are created in the image of our Creator. And just as God set an ultimate end for the world, we can set ends for ourselves at least. And communally, we can set an end for our state or group or organization or whatever. So practical reason is tied up in maxim setting. So maxims involve a personal inclination or desire or object which you want to go after and achieve. And a maxim also involves setting up rules and regulations and steps we can take in order to achieve that goal. So practical reason sets goals for itself and laws which take the shape of the law itself, which speculative reason gleans, law being logic and order. And practical reason mimics that law and order as it sets out to achieve its own goals. However, if the space between speculative reason and practical reason is all cluttered up with confusion, with sin, temptation, the wrong kind of desires, then we could be setting goals for ourselves which do not serve the spirit of the divine essence, the common good. So the common good is good, which means that it is not evil. But evil can work its way into the world through our practical endeavors, through our faculty of practical reason. In fact, substance itself, let's just say this is all of substance, and it contains this infinite realm of possibilities which through each moment speaks in a particular way. There are holes in it, like Swiss cheese. and through it, evil may enter. So even though this world is patterned upon a good end, the stuff of matter itself still lets evil in through the back door. It exists from the beginning precisely because creation is good. The negation of creation is death, is chaos, is evil. And God does not pronounce that originally in the world, but he doesn't need to. He's God. He's not even going to deign to look at it. But the difference between good and evil is there from the beginning and is just kind of in the background of the divine plan. And since the divine plan is rational, and since our minds are determined by rationality, deep down in our hearts and souls, we know the difference between good and evil. The spirit of the divine essence, the spirit of natural law, which is the order underlying all of existence, that is good. However, we can very easily fall into evil action whenever we forget the difference between good and evil. And because this world presents itself in a lawful way, and all law is good, evil can very easily mimic the good. So if under Aquinas' thought here, all of existence, no matter which shape it takes, is determined by a natural law, a telos, a logical order which underlies all things, then all things take the shape of that goodness. However, spiritually speaking, in terms of disposition, not all things are good. Evil can work its way into substance and hide behind good intentions, much like the serpent in the creation story, and can cause a fall. So if practical reason models itself off of the form of the law, but is confused by desire and temptation, even though it follows a rational pattern of end setting and taking steps to achieve those goals, it's not serving a rational goal, and it cuts off flourishing and diversity, and the end which it serves, even though it's a rational end, is not good. So we want to make sure that the relationship between speculative reason and practical reason is a good one, that the information speculative reason gains about goodness and purpose and the natural law, we want to make sure that practical reason understands it well, so that the human law, which it creates, resembles not only in form law itself, but serves the spirit, serves the purpose of that law as well, and so that we can flourish and that we can make it to heaven, according to Aquinas at least. So that's a lot. I will talk about how it is we can set up a model of education which strengthens the mind, which allows us to interpret the truth properly and ensure objective sight in the next video.